Hey guys, it's the Black Bonsai Guy and I am back. So I decided it was time to take the show to another level. I'm getting closer to having 100 subscribers on YouTube. Many thanks to you all on that end for sticking with me as I went through different progressions through the channel over the course of the last 4 or 5 months. I really do appreciate that. But now is the time to start taking up the level of production, the level of information, and making sure that you, my audience, are always engaged. So to do that, I said I'm gonna just do a video and I'm gonna just kind of give you a little bit about myself. I know sometimes YouTube could be kind of, impersonal. So I said, everybody is doing Zooms and, things of that nature due to COVID. Let me take a moment out to give you a little bit about myself and kind of bring you into the purpose of why I am doing the Black Bonsai Guy. And hopefully it all makes sense to you. So I'll try to be as brief as possible and get straight into it. So myself, my name is Jonathan Hebert. I was born and raised in New Orleans, Louisiana. I was born in the East, New Orleans East, that is, the Ninth Ward. A lot of people know it as that. I went to McDonald 35 Senior High School for high school. Then after that, I went to Southern University in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Go Jags. I majored in electrical engineering. I got my bachelor's degree in that. I got a master's degree in engineering with a concentration in electronic materials and process engineering. After grad school, I came out to Tucson, Arizona. I worked for a defense contractor out here in Tucson, Arizona. In engineering world, I started off as an engineer, of course. Then I kind of morphed into supply chain management over my career. And now I'm actually into program management. So I manage a whole lot of money as it relates to defense contracts for my defense contracting. I got to be real careful about what I say and what I don't say. So those who are in the industry, they know what I'm talking about. Those that are not, it might not make sense to you. I got to kind of talk in circles. So that's a little bit about me professionally. Today I serve as a program manager slash engineer on a whole bunch of things. Now enough about my vocation, because that's really only a small part of who I really am. I personally love to collect art. I'm a big art collector. As you can see, everything in my home is pretty much a piece of art, and it has a story that can help you either be a better human being, help you out spiritually, help you out morally, or that piece of art is something that could just be appreciated for what it is in terms of just its natural beauty. For example, I've been getting questions about these this Buddha panel. It actually is in 5 pieces, and this came from a temple in Nepal. This 5-piece work of art is over 100 years old. We don't have a real date on it. I bought it from someone who actually bought it from an auction. So I know a little bit of the provenance on it, but not a lot. The panels are extremely heavy. It's layered in gold leaf, right? That's just who I am. I like to collect art. I also like to study ancient Africa, in particularly. Oh, hold on, man. My shirt covered a loose out here. In particularly right now, I am studying Kemet. For those who don't know, Kemet is currently today called Egypt. Kemet is an older name, an older African name for what we call Egypt today. It used to be called Tamari at one point, or Ta. And I like to study all of Africa, which leads me to the purpose of this show. I actually started studying Seshmeta Nature which is the, how should I put it? It is the African terminology for what we commonly call hieroglyphics. So Sesh Meta Necha or Madu Necha. I started studying that probably 4 or 5 years ago, something like that now. But before that, I was studying Africa, you know, the various parts. But I started studying the language, and I ran across, let me back up. I'm telling the story wrong. I started studying in Africa first, and I ran across a teacher. His name is Infidisi Jehudimus. And I ended up taking my first class in Sesh Meta Necha through one of his students, Sanjeti. So Sanjeti was my first teacher. He laid the foundation for Sesh Meta Necha. And then I went on to take classes with Baba Banachi, who's an elder teacher that's been teaching for over 30, 40 years. And then I eventually went on to take a class with Raketi Amen, who was world-renowned, actually probably the oldest person that has taught most of the teachers that have been formally trained in Sesh Meta Necha. But I took the class because when I was studying African, I ran across Infidishi's teaching. He always talked about these 5 domains of mastery. And the 5 domains, they kind of level up. And the bottom level is the mineral domain. Above the mineral domain is the plant domain. Above plants is animals. Above animals is humans. Above humans is spiritual. So that's really what got me into gardening. But before I got into gardening, I got into crystals and minerals and gems and geodes and all of those things. So that's why you see these laying on this table. So this right here, that bottom domain that Infodici talks about is this is a piece of fluorite right here. And fluorite is something that can be used for metaphysical purposes in terms of like focusing, gaining clarity. If you want to, you know, study, this is a good crystal to have around. You got to be careful though with fluoride. You don't want to consume this because everybody knows what fluoride does to the body. But one of the things that fluoride contains a lot of is calcium. This is a piece of calcite right here. This is probably one of the first crystals that I may have gotten, I don't know, maybe 6 years ago now. And it also contains a lot of calcium. So I did a good job of finding some crystals from my personal collection that contain lots of calcium because I want to talk about those 5 domains. Remember, the mineral is the bottom, plants above it, animals above that, humans above that, spiritual above that. The spiritual domain, not to get religious on folks, the spiritual domain is the domain that connects everything. So you see everything in totality, you see everything holistically, you see everything as being connected. And it takes a lifetime to learn, but one of the things I wanted to talk about is how all of the domains, they have things in common. Remember, we talked about these 2 crystals right here containing lots of calcium. I got this plant over here. This is a bonsai in training. This bonsai, in all plants need calcium. All plants need magnesium. There's a little bit of magnesium in fluoride as well. So you start to see the same things as you propagate these different domains, but these same things are being expressed in different formations. So the calcium, for example, follow me, is being presented to you here in crystals, but the same calcium is also being presented to you here in plant form. When you see plants and you're giving them water, you're not drowning them too much, but the leaves look a little yellow, depending on where the yellow is at. Sometimes they look a little yellow or brown. Those are generally nutrient deficiencies that tell you your plant is suffering from calcium or magnesium, right? So we see we see these levels. This stuff is transforming. So we talked about the mineral, we talked about the plant. Let's talk about the animal domain, right? And I'm leaving he leaves humans out of the animal domain for very specific reasons. But I will talk to you about the animal domain. And in that, we encompass insects. So everybody knows I recently got into beekeeping. And in beekeeping, bees need calcium. During the colder months, you'll start to notice, and researchers have proved this, that bees will start to uptake more calcium to help get them through the colder months. Very important, right? And you could talk about all animals needing calcium, right? Cows need calcium. They give it back to their offspring and through milk, right? Going to the human domain, where we reside, right? And we're really no different than other animals. The only difference that I will give in terms of why we may be a little different, and this is not coming from Infodici, but this is my personal point of view, is we have the ability to observe nature and learn from nature. That's what makes us different. The ability to observe nature and learn from nature. And that ties you back into Africa, because everything you learn, everything we know that the Africans, our ancestors, the ancient Africans studied and learned, they learned by studying nature. In fact, this is a quick story. When you're studying a Madu Necha, remember, Madu Necha is the African terminology, the African name for what the world incorrectly calls hieroglyphs. When you're studying the Madu Necha, we have our own terms for kings, queens, gods, and goddesses. None of that stuff ever existed in Africa, and it damn sure didn't exist in Kemet. And I know a lot of times, you see black people, what's up king, what's up queen? Those are European terms that we really should not bring into our vocabulary. When you study, I'll just go to Egypt, for example. The male leader in Egypt would be called either a Insu or Insubidi or a Nusekbidi. And when you look at what a Insu does, a male leader in Kemet, they have a different moral, a different spiritual, and a different vocational understanding of what they do and how they treat people versus what you find in kings and queens from other cultures in Europe. So we really should get away from, at least when we're talking about Africans, either living throughout the diaspora or on the continent, we should use our own terminologies to define who we are. So I'm very particular about this, and I was taught this, right, when I was taking formal classes with Raketi Alman. Look at the world through your own lens, because that really changes how you see things. But anyway, I divert. When they discovered King Tut, when they discovered his tomb, they found honey in his tomb. Honey. For those who don't know, honey lasts forever. You put it in the right conditions where pests and stuff like that can't get to it, honey lasts forever. When the bees take that wax capping and put it over the honeycomb and they seal it, it lasts forever. And it actually gets better with time. That honey was still edible, but you must understand, why was honey found in his tomb? It goes back to the animal domain that I'm going to get into when I get there. The honey was found in his tomb because when you look at the Sesh Meta Necha, remember the word for hieroglyphics, when you look at that, you see in some forms of writing Insu or Insubidi, you see that in the actual pictures for king, you see a bee. You see a bee that's actually in the pictures that make up the word for king. So I won't go into what all that means, but I would tell you that there's a lot of information that can be learned by studying and observing bees, because bees play a vital role in the survival of human beings. All right, so that's why I got into beekeeping. But anyway, going back to the human domain, in the human domain, we have the ability to study and observe nature and learn from it, right? And then when you get to the level above that, the spiritual domain, that's when you start to see the interconnectedness of everything. Everything is connected. Nothing is random. Everything happens for a specific purpose, a specific reason. And by the way, remember, we saw calcium in the mineral domain. We saw calcium in the plant domain. We saw calcium in the animal domain, where we saw the bees. They need to get the calcium up to survive the winter. And we also see calcium in the human domain, right? So, for example, what's a good example? Women, right? Once a month, this is not a hidden fact, but women, they have their menstrual cycle. And during their menstrual cycle, calcium and magnesium levels, they tend to drop, right? And if your calcium and your magnesium levels are not where they need to be in terms of you being a woman, you can potentially have a lot of problems. And then as women get older, they tend to be more prone to, have osteoporitis, right? Where you don't have a lot of calcium in your bones. I tend to think that's because they tend to menstruate on a monthly basis, and they lose a lot of it and they don't tend to replenish it, right? But make no mistake about it, every person on this earth started out as female at one point. When we were in the womb, we were all female, and then we eventually turned into male. So men need calcium just as much as women do. So just keep that in mind. You see the same common things being presented in many different forms as you move through those domains. And the more you become in tune with yourself, and you come more in tune with all of the domains beneath it, I think that's when you really start to understand your purpose for being here, and you understand things that make you happy and things that don't make you happy. Long story, but that brings me to the purpose of this show. I think after studying all of this stuff for years and understanding that I have many more years ahead of me, that it's now time for me to give some of that back to you, my audience, so that you can go on your own journeys. You're going to start to find your own things that stimulate your mind, make you happy, bring joy and happiness and peace to your life in the same way that these things bring me joy, peace, and happiness. As I mentioned earlier, I'm an engineer by trade, program manager by vocation today. As far as money goes, I'm pretty comfortable. You know, I kind of can see where I'm going to end up by the time I retire. I've done all of those things that are associated with money, the traveling, the partying, the buying stuff. And when you get to a certain point, those things are fun, don't get me wrong, but they don't bring you the level of passion and intensity that studying and learning this stuff does. At least that's for me. So I decided to do a show so that I can share some of the stuff that I learned with you all, and hopefully you all can share stuff with me so that I can learn more. Because I just talked about calcium and magnesium being prevalent through these domains. You guys may see something from a different point of view that's in your life, that you see it propagating through those domains. And I'm sure you will be happy to share that information with me and the world as well. So that's one of the points for me doing this show. The other point of doing this show is stress relief, right? We find that when humans spend more time in nature, they tend to pick up more free radicals, and those free radicals detox the body, lower stress levels, That's why people like going to the beaches, because the beaches, you have the sand there, you have the sun in the sky, the sun hits that sand, it releases a certain thing that the body can pick up on, and you start to kind of relax, and you start to detox. You got the water splashing. You know, people say, I want to go to the beach because I want to hang out. Nah, you're really drawn to the same things that draws me to this, but you don't see it because you don't know what it is there. You know, I like to study exactly what draws me to this, what draws me to that, what draws me to plants, what draws me to bees and animals, right? And I encourage you all to look for the same thing in your life. So the last point that I had down here is to get people into gardening, get people into the art of bonsai, and then to get people into beekeeping. And I'll be brief in telling you why gardening. As we start to see more cases of COVID spike up, you're going to start to see shortages of food. You need to be able to at least sustain yourself by growing something, right? Like, I'm from New Orleans. Everything we cook in New Orleans, it generally got onions, bell pepper, and celery in it, or carrots, depending on what part of Louisiana you're from, right? You don't want to be in a situation where you're making your gumbos and you cooking and you ain't got all your ingredients there. Grow the key staples that you eat on a weekly basis, because you may not have them as food supplies start to diminish based on COVID. Bonsai. I would like more people to get into bonsai for 2 reasons. A, to help teach me, because as much as I like to share what I know with the public, I know that there's more people out there that's been doing it longer than me, and they will pick up and learn information faster and quicker than me. I would like them to share that information with me so that we can get more people into bonsai. Make no mistake about it, the more people that get into gardening, and particularly in the art of bonsai, the more trees we have available. The more trees we have available, the more oxygen we have available. The more things we have on the planet to help detoxify our air that we breathe. Because we don't want to be breathing in COVID, right? We want to have stuff to hopefully there's a plant out there that can strip that nasty virus out the air and get rid of it, right? And lastly, beekeeping. I think, as you see in the news, murder hornets and Africanized bees and XYZ. I think the more and more people that get educated on bees and start becoming backyard beekeepers, for the small amounts of killer bees and African bees, Africanized bees that are out there in the world, when those bees get with the domesticated bees that we raise in our backyard that are gentle and peaceful bees, if they do happen to mate, their offspring should pick up a little bit of the Africanized, pick up a little bit of the gentle domestic. At least that's what we hope. If you run across Africanized bees, the intent, you should euthanize them and get them out of the breeding food chain. But the point of what I'm saying is we want those bees to be met with some resistance so they cannot procreate. And if they do procreate, hopefully the gene pool is weakened and becomes more to a gentler stock. Oh, by the way, bees are a big pollinator in America. And when I say bees, I'm talking about bees of all sorts. I'm talking wasps, hornets, murder hornets, Africanized bees, honeybees, etc., etc. So that's it. I've been wanting to do this video. I've been thinking about this video for a couple of months. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. And I think I'm going to post this video as my #1. When you come to my channel, you see this video, so it kind of tells you a little bit about the channel. And hopefully it piques your curiosity and keeps you guys interested in those 5 domains that the good sin is an African word for brother. The good brother, Infodisi Jehudamus, has given us. So without further ado, I would like to leave you all by saying, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that notification. I can't never say it right. Hit the notification bell to make sure you are notified every time I post new videos. For those who don't know, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday is when I tend to post. On Mondays, I post videos that are related to hunting and shopping for discounted plants, trees, garden-related supplies. On Wednesdays, I tend to post things related to plants, gardening, bonsai. And then on on Friday, I tend to post things related to bees and beekeeping. So without further ado, it's the Black Bonsai Guy. I'm out.